everyone, welcome. This is SharePoint Power Hour. I'm Laura Rogers, and this is a show we do every Wednesday at 11 Central. SharePoint Power Hour is all about things that you can do in SharePoint without having to do any programming or hardcore server admin. And this is my team of SharePoint consultants at Rackspace Hosting, and we take turns doing demos and sometimes slide decks and just various things in SharePoint and SharePoint Online with Office 365. Our YouTube channel is SharePoint RAX, and this is our 107th episode. And Corey will be doing his first Power Hour presentation this week. Really excited. So we'll go through and introduce ourselves. Just let's see, Kevin, Stephen, Tanya, then Tavis, and then Corey will do his presentation. So.
For once, I get to go last.
Yeah. There you go, everybody.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Hughes. I'm based out of Kansas City, and I'm the SharePoint architect here at Rackspace, working with Laura's team. My role is to work with our clients to find out exactly what they need in SharePoint and then figure out how to deliver that. Work with the rest of our team to get it done.
Hi everybody, my name is Stephen Wilson. I'm based out of our Cincinnati office. I am, let's see, what is my title exactly? I am a SharePoint technician. I do a lot of our admin work for our customers, helping them out with keeping SharePoint running along nicely, and helping them out when they first get SharePoint with just sort of those first baby steps on how to do some things and some ideas on what their next steps are before we turn them over to one of our many specialists here who can help them with specific projects.
Hi everyone, I'm Tanya Kaiser, and I'm based out of San Antonio at Rackspace headquarters. I am a program manager for our internal SharePoint environments. So I do a lot of the same things that our customers see. It just happens to be that my customers are my fellow Rackers.
Hello everyone, my name is Tavis Lovell, and I am the Business Intelligence Developer on the Business Solutions team. So I deal with things like reporting services, Performance Point, Power Pivot, all that good type of stuff.
All right, that's all y'all. I'm Corey Emmons. I've been with this lovely team for about, I don't know. Oh, I do know. What is it, 109 days now. Don't ask me why I was figuring that out. And today we're going to be talking to you about building a manager task roll-up using content search, and we're going to use some simple workflows and play a little bit with refiners and stuff. Just a couple of things before we get started. If you're watching this on YouTube, there is a link on the YouTube page to join the Google Hangout. If you join the Google Hangout, you will be able to insert ask Q&A questions, so you can ask me questions as we're going along, and I'll try my best to answer them. In addition, I am also broadcasting this presentation, so the benefit of that is that you can have the presentation open in one window while I'm doing the demo in another window. And that's helpful because I have all the steps for what we're doing in the presentation, and you can follow along while I'm doing the demo. That link is also only available if you join the Google Hangout. So the moral of the story is you should probably join the Google Hangout. So yeah, I guess we'll get started. I'll go ahead and share my screen. I made my resolution really tiny, so hopefully it'll look good to all of you. And there's my mouse. Good. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the presentation on the wrong screen. Perfect. I don't even. Great. Monitor. Yeah, that one. All right, there we go. So, like I already said, manage your task rollups using content search and simple workflows, and we're also going to be playing a little bit with refiners. A little bit more about me. I primarily do out-of-the-box stuff, workflows, forms, web parts, all that stuff. There's my Twitter handle. I sometimes tweet about SharePoint stuff. You can ignore all my other tweets because they're usually not useful. And there's my LinkedIn profile. All right, so the goal today, content search web part with refiners so that a manager can see all the tasks that are related to their direct reports. So my direct reports today are going to be Joe Schmo and Phil Collins. And as you can see in this handy dandy little screenshot, this is what we're going for. So a task list, this is a very simple demo task list, and assigned to refiners up in the top here. How we're going to get there. It looks like a lot of words. It is a lot of words, but it's not that bad. Trust me. It doesn't take any programming. It's not too bad, and it's damn useful if I do say so myself. So let's just do it. I'm gonna go back one slide, and we'll start the demo. Okay. So the whole beginning of this is making a content type. The content type will allow us to have a task that also has the manager's name field in the task. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Site Settings, wait for it, there we go. Site Settings, you need to go to top level Site Settings. So if you are not a site collection administrator, you will need to get someone to do this for you. Go to Site Content Types, and what you're going to do is create a new content type. So I'm going to call this one, let's call it Tasks with Manager. Sure. And you can enter a fun description if you want. All right, the parent content type is going to be a list content type, and it's going to be a task. That way we'll get all of the task columns that already exist, which is just perfect because then all we need to do is add the manager's name. You can put it in whatever group you want. I'm going to put it in custom content types. Just for everyone else on the Google Hangout, I'm not watching the Q&A, so if anything pops up, just let me know. And hit OK. So now you have this brand new content type, and as you can see, it has all of the columns that are usually there. And what we're going to do is add from existing site columns, and we're going to look for one called Manager's Name. Luckily, they're in alphabetical order. There it is. And we're going to add that. Update all, yes. And go ahead and hit OK. All right, now we have our content type. So from there, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new reusable workflow on this content type. So you're going to go ahead and switch over to SharePoint Designer. Since I had it open already, I'm going to go ahead and refresh so that it knows what's going on. Go into Workflows. We're going to create a new reusable workflow. We'll call this Find Manager's Name. I'm trying to make it unique because I've already done this about 4 times on this server. And what's important that I didn't put in the slide, and I should, is it has to be a SharePoint 2010 workflow. It's critical, otherwise this whole shebang isn't going to work. So go ahead and do that, hit OK. Now we have a new workflow. So from the actions, I'm going to go ahead and find one called Lookup Manager of a User. Boom. As in this nice step, find manager of this user. and we're going to do a workflow lookup for a user. Wait for it for a second. Should be thinking. Yep. Current item. And it's going to be the hold on. Did I miss a step?
The assign to box, right?
Yes. When I made the reusable workflow, I feel like I missed a step.
Oh, did you not refresh SharePoint Designer, maybe?
I didn't associate it to the content type.
Oh.
And I don't know how I did.
Association columns.
Reusable workflow. Oh, content type all. There we go. That's the step I missed. Okay. Knew there was something. So under content type, find this tasks with manager. See, I already have a couple in here. That's the one I used. And go ahead and hit OK. All right. I feel better now. Now we can look up manager for a user. And when we do a workflow lookup, there's the assign to. Magic. Now, you want to return the field as the login name. It's not going to be pretty on the task list, but that's not that important. So, OK, OK. Output's variable manager. That's fine. One more step in this workflow. Action. Set field in current item. And we're going to set the manager's name to that variable that we just created up here, manager. And it has to match. So also has to be login name. Otherwise, you're going to get workflow errors. Learned that the hard way yesterday. After you're done with that, that's it for the workflow. So you can go ahead and publish it. All right, we're a quarter of the way there. Woohoo! So go ahead and minimize workflow and go back here. So now we're going to create some task lists. Go back into my demo site here. So as you can see, I don't have much in here except for a task list. It created one automatically when, I don't know, at some point, which is fine. We can use this one. So we're going to go in here and we want to go to list and list settings. And you want to make sure management of content types is enabled. This one already has it enabled, as you can see here. So we don't need to do that. But what we're going to do is we're going to add that new manager, tasks with manager content type into this list. Boom. We can delete the other content types just because it'll be less confusing for everyone. All right, and now we have this tasks with manager. Now, I'm going to add that field to the default view just so that it's easier for everyone to see. So we're just going to go ahead and check that manager's name box. Hit OK. All right, so now we have manager's name in there. Perfect. Now, how fun would this be if we only had one task list? Not at all. So let's create a couple more. Add another task list. We'll call this tasks 2 because I'm very original. And it's just more of the same. So list settings, it's already has content types, custom tasks. Delete the other one. If I'm going too fast for anyone, just yell at me.
If they're just watching this, they can just pause it and you know,
Well, that's true.
pause and restart it. And also, of course, don't forget the presentation, that slide that you're broadcasting to at the same time, so they can see the description of what you're doing, which is awesome.
Yeah, I kept
And
that
don't forget to
broadcasting.
ask
So
questions in the Q&A, which is in the little set of squares at the top right.
oh, yeah. All right, add that to the view. All right, so that's 2 task lists, and we'll add one more just for fun. Same deal here, list settings. Add the custom content type. Delete this content type. And add it to the view. All right, so now we have 3 task lists. Woo! Okay, so now we have 3 task lists. But what we need to do is make it so that we actually have these tasks running on these task lists. I'm just putting it over here so it's easier to find later. Save. Okay. So let's add some workflows to this. So we'll go into the first task list, workflow settings, add a workflow. Run on items, tasks with manager. And in here you'll see find manager's name. Enter a unique name. That's fine. And you want to check both these boxes because anytime the assigned to changes, you want it to change the manager's name appropriately. Hit OK. Now we have a workflow for that task list. We'll do the same thing with task list 2 and 3. Do 2 is good, and last one. Went to the wrong page. All right, add a workflow. Tasks with manager. Find manager's name. Bulk thing 3. All right, so now we have workflows. Woo! Now, this is where it gets a little complicated just because refiners are weird. So the assigned to field by default is not a refinable column. Nothing you can do about it. So what you have to do instead is make an existing refinable column point to the assigned to field. So we're going to go to top level site settings again. And, oh, how convenient, it's already in purple. We're going to go to search schema. So if I search for refinable string, notice that there are a ton of refinable strings in here. And all these are for whatever use you want them. As you can see, I already used refinable string 00 yesterday, so we're going to use refinable string 01.
Hey, Corey, I have a question. Is it possible to, is there the existing assigned to? Could you make it refinable just the original?
No.
What?
No.
Oh,
no, you cannot.
Okay.
Yeah. The assigned to column as it exists in SharePoint cannot be set to be refinable. The little checkbox is just, this little checkbox is just grayed out, and there's no way to change it. So the only way you can do this is to take an existing refinable string and map it to the assigned to field. Which is what, yeah. So we'll open refinable string 01, or whichever one you want to use. And down here, what you're going to do is add a mapping.
Oh, Corey?
Yes.
If you're an on-premises you do have the option of creating brand new refinable strings that are actually named something interesting, and then you can use those strings in other locations that may be more identifiable.
True. So there you go. So you can do it either way. This actually is an on-prem install, but since we get a good mix of on-prem and Office 365 people, I'll keep using this one just to make things simpler. So when you go to add a mapping, crawl property selection, look for assign to, and you're going to find this one, OWS assign to. Go ahead and hit OK, and what that does is it adds a mapping to refinable string 01 to assign to. And now we have a refinable string for assign to. So what you're saying, Kevin, is I could add a new managed property that's refinable and just map it to assign to?
Correct. Yeah, you create a new managed property, and then you have the ability to, when you're creating a new one, to set it to be retrievable, refinable, sortable, and all that, just like any of those properties you see across the headings there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the built-in ones you don't. Some of them you don't have the ability to check the boxes to make them refinable or sortable.
Right.
So creating a brand new one is something that once it's there and you run a full crawl, then it will become available through SharePoint Designer and other interfaces.
True.
I'm going to throw in one more option, and this is only for server admins. I was able to go into Central Admin and go to that search schema and on the server, and it's editable there.
Okay.
So, but that's a smaller group of people that's going to be allowed to go to Central Admin. So what you're doing is for site collection administrators, but you can edit the out-of-the-box assign to from Central Admin and check those boxes and stuff.
Good to know. There we go. Always better with options.
Multiple options, yep.
All right, so now we have a refined property for assign to. So now what we need to do is we need to run a full crawl. That's what's going to make that refinable property actually show up with the assign to. So excuse me while my central admin server boots up for the first time today. Should have preloaded this. I forgot. Cool. All right. So if you're not a server administrator, you're going to have to wait for a full crawl or get somebody to start a full crawl for you. But since this is my server under my desk, I can do it myself. So you go to Manage Service Applications, open the Search Service application, find your appropriate, go to Content Sources, find your appropriate content source, and start a full crawl. All right. And I know from experience my full crawl takes about 2 minutes to run. So while that's running, what we can do is we can start making our roll-up. So back in SharePoint, I'm going to go ahead and make this roll-up on the home page because why not? But you can put it anywhere you want. So on the home page, I'm going to edit the page. I'm going to add a web part. And we're going to add a content roll-up, a content search web part. Add. Okay. Go ahead, edit the web part.
I blame the wiki page.
Absolutely. It's always the wiki page's fault. You know what? Actually, before we do this, because it's probably useful, we don't have any data for it to crawl, which I just remembered. So I'm going to go ahead and add some tasks in here, because otherwise we're not going to have anything to look at. So we'll assign this one to Joe Schmo. Assign this one to me. Assign this one to... Of course, now this means I'm going to have to run another full crawl. Phil Collins. Updating this list, and as you can see, Joe Schmo and Phil Collins now have their good old manager SP install filled in right here, which is awesome. Do the same thing in task list 2. Assign this one to SP farm. I wonder if Phil Collins would get angry that I'm using him in my SharePoint farm.
What he doesn't know won't hurt you.
No one tell him. I'll know it was you.
Side note about Phil Collins, I heard he's starting on a new album.
Really?
It's true.
That's awesome and random.
Amazing what you learned during SharePoint Power Hour, isn't it?
Are you collaborating with him, Tavis?
I don't think I'm up to his level yet.
For all those who don't know, Tavis has recently released an album of his own.
Very true. Look, Tavis, you don't even have to do your own shameless plug. We'll do it for you.
And I thank you.
Does anybody have that link?
I'm going to find it and I'm going to put it in the thing and I'll share it out.
All right, so now we have actual tasks to roll up into our task roll-up. I'm going to go ahead and do a full crawl again because it will be useful for life. While that's running, now we can add our web part, because when it's done, we'll actually be able to see some stuff. So let's add a web part, content search. Ooh, stuff. Stuff is great. Edit web part. Wait for the wiki page. All right, so we're going to go ahead and change our query because there's a lot of stuff in here that we don't need, like this stuff. Don't need it. I don't even know what these are.
Hey, real quick, I shared in the showcase little app, like if you're flipping back and forth between the Q&A and the showcase app, your PowerPoint you're streaming is out there, and Tavis's album that he just released is out there.
Awesome.
Awesome.
And I'm not going to let you download the presentation, but if you want to open up the streaming of the presentation, you can go ahead and take a screenshot of the current slide, and that's all the instructions that of what I'm doing right now. And they're pretty complete. I mean, I'm using them to actually do the presentation, so they're not too bad. In the query, you're going to want to switch to advanced mode. And right now you can see it has the path, it has if it's a list item or a document. Those are all well and good. But what we need to add is a property filter to make the managed property that's called manager's name OSX test text, wow, I can't even talk today. That one contains and name of the user who runs the query. Add property filter. Yeah, that's it. That's the only one. Last night I was experimenting with adding adding a content type filter as well, but it was not working for me, so I'm not going to do that in this demo. But that's also a property filter that you may want to add if you have a lot of stuff that ends up coming up besides these tasks. Ah, look at that. Tasks. Woohoo. Okay, so now we have a query. And we'll go ahead and show 6, which is more than we have. And for this, I'm going to switch it to 2 lines, because that's more useful. And let's go ahead and change the property mappings and add the assigned to in here so that we can see who these are assigned to. And yep, and we'll hit OK. And now you can see I have 5 tasks in here. Phil Collins and Joe Schmo. None of them are SP Farm and none of them are SP Install. And we go ahead and save this page really quick. Look through the task lists. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They all showed up, which is a good thing.
Woo, that's cool.
Yay! But now for the extra icing on the cake. Let's go ahead and add a refiner. So I'll just stick it in the top here, insert, web part, and it's going to be under search, refinement. Oh, that's useful. Interesting.
That's a new one. I've never seen that one.
No, me either. That didn't happen yesterday. I'm going to go ahead and edit it anyway and see what happens. Target not found. Oh, there we go.
It's definitely because of the wiki page.
Probably, yeah. So refinement target, if you ever get that weird error, it just needs to be pointed to the content search web part. If I go ahead and hit apply, there we go. That looks a little better. All right, if we go in here and choose refiners, we can remove all the ones that are in there because they're all not useful for what we're doing. And go ahead and find your refinable string or whatever refinable property you decided to use. And I'm going to call it assigned to because that's what it is. Sort it by name and sort ascending. We'll hit OK. And we'll hit OK. Boom. And we'll hit save. And now we have this task list here. And when you hit on an assign to, it just shows Joe Schmo's tasks, or it can just show Phil Collins' tasks.
That's golf clap. Or let me find. We got to find the special effects to make it sound more. I'm a little slow.
Look at that.
That's very cool. And then, of course, you know, that's the out-of-the-box display template, and then you want to make it look pretty. That's a whole other power hour, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Have we done a power hour on display template?
Yeah, we've done a couple of them.
Yeah. So you can make it look all pretty. You can add, we've done a couple where you make it into a table so it actually looks like a list with the assigned to and everything else. But as a nice out-of-the-box thing, there you go.
Yeah, and one thing that I noticed the other day, I was doing this assigned to, you know, for an actual project I was working on for a customer the other day, and assigned to be assigned. It could be assigned to multiple people, so you have to select that box. I don't know if you did for allow multiple values.
Oh, for assigned to.
So that way, yeah. So that way, if it's assigned to Joe Schmo and Phil Collins, that won't show as like a separate line item under assigned to that says Joe Schmo semicolon Phil Collins.
Right.
That way, it knows to separate them all out.
Well, and important note about that: if you're going to make assigned to able to be multiple values, in SharePoint Designer in the workflow.
Ooh, yeah, that's tricky
When
with the
you're doing
manager, huh? How would you even do that?
I think when you do workflow lookup for a user, if it's for multiple people, it should give you the names, comma, semicolon delimited, I think.
Yeah, that's a whole other level of complexity, though. So yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
could,
haven't tried that.
if you want to prevent people from assigning to multiple people, so you don't have to deal with that issue. So you'll have one manager name, then you
Right.
can go into the task and assign settings and make it so they can't select multiple people. That would simplify it.
Right. Or even better, stick those people in a SharePoint group and assign a task to the group.
Yeah,
Although
but then a group doesn't have a
the
manager.
group doesn't have a manager. Boom. It's always something.
That's very cool. Yeah, it is. With SharePoint, it is always something. Any
Always
questions,
something.
anybody? Y'all have been very quiet.
So what's the big catch if you try and do this with a 2013 workflow?
That if you try and do this with a SharePoint 2013 workflow, this action does not exist. That's the catch. You can't physically do it with a SharePoint 2013 workflow because the find manager action only exists in a 2010 workflow.
Yeah, that's one of the lots of pros and cons between the 2010 and 13 workflows. That's one of them.
Yep.
I knew there had to be.
Honeycutt says this is really cool. Thanks for putting this together. And also there is a dev way. So if you want to have to avoid the whole putting the manager field in there and creating a workflow and the reusable workflow and doing all that part, and you just want to magically know who everybody's managers are, I did put a link in the little showcase to our friend Scott Hillier wrote an app in C#, Visual Studio, that you could go download, and so I put the link to it. That is the code version that you'd have to download and deploy to your farm and everything, but that would do that more automatically.
Right.
Another way you can do that, though, is if you're working in a 2013 workflow, you create this 2010 workflow, and instead of having it throw it into a variable, have it actually set a column value that just doesn't show up in a view, or maybe it does if you want to display that. And then when you return back to the 2013 workflow, you can use that value inside it. So you do have the option of starting a 2010 workflow from within a 2013 workflow to do this.
That's a great idea, Kevin. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. If you have other things going on in your task list and you need this stuff going on inside other workflows. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you could on this task roll-up page, you could put them in web part zone so that the assign to is like on the left, so it looks kind of more like a search results page if people want to see that, and just
Right.
kind of there's a lot of cool stuff out there with the client-side rendering and display templates and how to make things look prettier. It's really sad that that's pretty much what you get out of the box is just an ugly list of stuff. So
Yeah. I mean, you can make it uglier and add pictures, but but overall, yeah, that's pretty much
we have people ask this all the time, by the way, for managers to see the tasks that are assigned to the people under them so they can kind of keep tabs on how everybody's doing. So, yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't have... Go ahead.
I was just going to say that the reason we stumbled upon this is it seemed like something that should, it's very useful, and it seemed like something you should just be able to do. And then we started digging into it and found that there wasn't exactly an easy way to do it. So
we spent hours of our lives trying to figure out if there was a way without having to do the whole workflow part.
Yes.
But
yes,
there's the dev way. So
yeah. It's
yeah.
workflow or custom dev. So
if you don't have the ability to do the manager thing in the workflow, you can at least create assign to as a refiner, and at least people be able to quickly flip between who things are assigned to and show a list of tasks, even if it's not the people that are under you. Michael says, Tavis can't play the Bandcamp stuff at work block, but found Countdown on YouTube. Love the sound. All right.
Cool.
Woohoo. Oh, Tavis, you're muted. Oh, you're muted in the Google Hangout. You got a little mute icon over you. There
I
you
got
go.
multiple mutes. Thank you very much, Michael. That was very kind.
Awesome.
And now for the rest of Power Hour, there'll be a demo concert.
Next week I'm teaching my my SharePoint online class, my Power User class all week. That's SharePoint.rackspace.com/training. But I won't be at Power Hour, so I'll have to rely on one of you guys hopefully doing one. So we'll figure something out. If anybody has any ideas, feel free to shout them out, and we can, or if anybody in the chat window, since we've got a couple minutes, has any requests.
As a shock to no one, I will not be here.
Mike says this could be used for any parent multiple child case, right? Like multiple training sessions for a single agreement?
I would think so. I think that would be simpler because you don't necessarily need the workflow to figure out, the manager. You could just, it's just that refinement.
Yeah. Mike, you have to make sure you create those as site columns, or at least try to make sure you do that. So that if there are site columns, it's a lot easier to make them refiners, because the list of refiners are just very limited out of the box.
Yes. Yeah, if you were to, if you have a parent content type for, agreements, right, and then underneath each agreement is different training sessions, you can make the content search roll up specific to each agreement and use the refiners to then do the training sessions to select each training session.
Yeah. Another interesting little weird thing is when we were trying to figure out when I was, I was intent on figuring out an out-of-the-box way to do this. There is, whenever you go into the content search web part and you use the user, like the current user little parameter in there, it says it's got little curly brackets, user.name. Well, you can change that to other things like user dot and use other properties. So you could do user.manager, but the thing is that's the opposite of what we're trying to achieve here. So you could have a user see their managers by using user.manager.
Right.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't require any workflow either. That would just show up. So.
But when you think about the user dot, you could do other cool things with it, like have user dot department maybe, and show a list of some kind of roll up of websites that have that department name in them, or anything like that. So get creative with it. Cool. Well, anybody else have any questions or ideas or other projects you've had that needed to have this? No. All right. Cool. Well, thanks, Corey. That was just a quick little recap. So go back to your slide deck and do a recap of all the steps you took, because it's like the number of viewers we had jumped up by about 10 at right when you were getting to the end of the demo. So we'll just kind of recap what we did.
So to recap, we did this. No. So to recap, what we were doing is making this manager content roll up. So you need to create a new task content type that has the manager's name in it, manager's name field in it, a reusable workflow that looks up that manager for the user, and it has to be a SharePoint 2010 workflow, at least, to get that action. And what that workflow is going to do is it's going to look up the manager, and it's going to then set the manager's name field for the assigned to. You create task lists using that new content type to have the manager's name in the task list. Adding a refiner, this is kind of the bonus, so you add an assigned to refiner so that you can use that for the roll-up. Search crawls are always useful, so you can actually see the content you created. And then creating the roll-up, it's a content search web part. You add the manager's name as a property filter, and then you add the refiner for assigned to, so that you can actually select which people you want to see. And you get this. It's like magic.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess you can stop sharing your screen now.
Sure.
So we can see each other the whole time, but I forget that the people watching can't see us.
How do I stop
commentary.
my screen?
Click
like
on
that.
this. There you go.
Ta-da. There's my
Awesome.
face.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching again every Wednesday at 11 Central. And Josh, I think it has a very complicated question in the chat window, and I don't think it has anything to do with what we're talking about. Something about his time changing, but you guys let us know. You can make comments on our YouTube channel about ideas you have about Power Hour. We also have a Facebook page, SP at Rackspace, and we share all the events on there, and we put them in there as events, so you can say that you're going to it and stuff like that. And then we also have the YouTube channel, the SharePoint, the Facebook page, and of course Twitter, and that's probably how most of y'all found this. But thanks again. We'll go ahead and we'll see you next Wednesday at 11 Central. Bye.
Bye-bye.